The Chicago Bears are picking 10th in the upcoming NFL draft. And Ryan and I, we are going to be breaking down our first 3-round mock draft for the Chicago Bears here in a second. But if you like the content that the Tracy Take puts out and you want to help the channel grow, the easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell to get notified when new videos come out. And while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of this mock draft and why. Ryan, let's pull up these slides here. So we did a full 3-round mock draft, all 100 or so picks, and the Bears picking at number 10. We had them draft Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU. He is more than likely going to be kicking into guard. But this is, I think, a phenomenal scenario for the Chicago Bears. You have your franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. You're going to have Ben Johnson that's coming over. And one of the key things about this Detroit Lions offense that was so successful was how amazing that offensive line was. They drafted really well and got some amazing skill position players in there. Ben Johnson's also a great offensive mind, but particularly for him. But I think you could also just say it more generically. Any good team that has made the Super Bowl, has won the Super Bowl, except for the Cincinnati Bengals team that made the Super Bowl in 2021, has had at minimum, like above average
Yeah.
offensive line. And the Bears
Yeah. It,
did not have that last year.
and the other thing too, like I'll use the what is that, the 2020 Super Bowl, the Buccaneers and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like the Chiefs had a good offensive line. It just throughout the playoffs and the end of the season got so banged up that it was no longer serviceable. And Patrick Mahomes just kind of drugged that offensive line to the Super Bowl. So I think that this offensive line specifically would benefit not just from Will Campbell's talent on the field. He's a very talented offensive lineman. He's a good athlete. He has a really, really good anchor. That's probably his best attribute as a player, like tangibly. But you just go look, I think his mentality and kind of the leadership that he would bring to this offensive line. I really like this pick. He's a phenomenal player, seems to be an even better person and leader to have in a locker room. And I think that, like, getting him here at 10, I think brings a whole nother level to this pick. And I think could make an offensive line much better just bringing his leadership in alone.
Yeah, yeah. And I think another thing too for the Bears is even like we're doing our Tracy Take Tuesday where we have a mock draft coming out and we talk about this all the time as well. And it does seem like things are starting to shape up where they're like uh, top 8 to 10 players are starting to kind of break themselves apart from the rest of the group. Or these guys are pretty consistently in the top 10 or at least around the top 10, worst case scenario. And I think when you're the Bears, you look at kind of what the strength is of this class. The strength of this class is the trenches, like defensive line in
Yeah.
general, yes, but then offensive line is also very a lot of good depth here as well. And we're going to get to even some more guys here in a second. But with where they're picking at number 10, I don't really think there's a wrong way they can go. And I think if they wanted to be extra cheeky, just with how deep this trench, like the trenches are in this class, if they wanted to go Ashton Genty, who was still available here for this pick, really improve that offensive, that running back room. And once again, Ben Johnson, what was really
Yeah.
successful with that offense was how effective they were at running the ball. You need to improve the offensive line, absolutely, but I think they can do that in so many different ways in this class. And a guy like Ashton Genty would immediately take a lot of pressure off of Caleb Williams and be an amazing weapon for this team. So I think the Bears are in a great spot here at number 10. They have 2 picks right next to each other to kick off the second round, picks number 39 and 41. I think that they will be aggressive and maybe can even trade up and go and get another guy. He's not on here, but we're talking about running back. If they want to be aggressive, go get a guy like Amari Hampton. I think he would also be phenomenal as well. But we ended up going with Bradyn Swinson here, addressing the edge rusher spot, and also Jonah Savaiinaea. Sorry, I want to say Jonah, and I'm like, that's not right. Even for me, where I can't pronounce my names, I can pronounce Jonah. And so, but Ryan, what do you like about both Bradyn Swinson and Jonah Savaiinaea?
Yeah. Bradyn Swinson to me is a underrated edge rushing prospect out of LSU. Great length, good athleticism, just does a really good job, like being an edge rusher. And whether that's in the run game or in the pass game, he's always kind of doing the right thing. He has plus athleticism to kind of bend the edge. He can run straight through tackles. He has admirable length and has good physical tools as well. So I think this is a underrated player here that they're going to snag here at the top of the second round. I could really see him even rising up a little bit higher, especially if he tests really well at the combine here in a couple weeks. But I like him a lot. And then Jonah Savaiinaea is just a absolute powerhouse of an offensive lineman. Dude is so strong. He has a great anchor. He doesn't get pushed around nearly at all. And I think you go put him and Will Campbell on the interior of that offensive lineman or of that offensive line. I think that is just going to be a really solid interior. You have oh crap, who's the right tackle from Tennessee that they took 9th overall?
Darnell Wright.
Darnell Wright. That's it. So Darnell Wright at right tackle. You can kind of patch things together at left tackle with Braxton Jones for now, but your interior would be much more solid going forward with these two guys.
Yeah, and it's very possible that they'll re-sign Coleman Shelton, their starting center as well. So to get them like solid talent around him on both sides, on both the left and right guard. To your point, I think would just be a great improvement, and like they just need to keep rebuilding this offensive line. I absolutely like they with 4 picks here in the top 100, can absolutely see them double
Yeah.
dipping at the offensive line position here because it's just that big of a need. Also, too, as I've mentioned already, with Ben Johnson in this offense, like he needs to have a solid offensive line to work with, and so this
Yeah.
is going to be absolutely the class to go and do that. And so wrapping up here, we do have them eventually taking a running back here as well. Have them going with the Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ohio State. Really solid running back out of Ohio State, declaring for the draft. Him and Trayvon Henderson shared the backfield, and very similar to kind of like the Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. If you guys couldn't tell of all the Detroit Lions comparisons I've been making, but Quinshon Judkins to me has always been kind of more the physical one in my eyes. I kind of like that more David Montgomery, and so I think that would be a great fit and maybe complement to I think like a DeAndre Swift, who's currently there. But this running back class is so deep. I think they're going to go with whichever guy that they like, whether it be Ashton Genty at 15 or whether it be Dylan Sampson, if they really like Cam Scattaboo, or if they want to wait till day 3 and go get a guy like Devin Neal or KJ Giddens. Like there's so many good running backs in this class that I think could come in and contribute on day 1 in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, and just like even if they want to wait till day 3, I'm not sure what their day 3 capital looks like off the top of my head, but they could even get a contributor there in the backfield. So I really like this fit, especially too. You go and address the 2 interior spots. Quinshon Judkins going to be able to run between the tackles really well, for some missed tackles and some open gaps, and really break some long runs. And so I like this fit. Versatile guy. All in all, pretty heavy offense for the 4 picks that they had in the top 100. 2 offensive linemen, you get a running back, and then you get an edge rusher there. So really addressing and kind of hammering home 3 top needs there, or I guess all top needs for them: that offensive line, running back, and edge rusher. Really hammering home those needs in this mock.
Well, and I think too, and Bears fans let me know, but when I look at the Bears defense, I actually think there's some talent
Oh
on
yeah,
that side of the ball. I just think Matt Eberflus lost that Bears locker room, and even too, if you look at the defense before the Washington Commanders game as well, defense did a really good job locking down a lot of these offenses. I think they didn't really have too many games where they gave up over 300 yards per game, like in those first 6 or 7 games. And if it was pretty like it wasn't too much farther over uh, uh, 300 yards. But it's like still they have Tyreek Stevenson, who's I know the infamous one from that, but like Gervin Dexter traded for Devondre Sweat. They got Tremaine Edmonds. It's like there's some talent that's in there. Kevin Byard as well. So like I think there's some talent down there, and I do think their defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, former Saints head coach, I think is going to come in and do a solid job. Not a good head coach, but I also think too I should I should rephrase that. I don't think he was maybe given the best shot in New Orleans because
no,
they didn't really do a great job with the salary cap to kind of keep bringing in good players or like making some free agency splashes. But that being said, though, the Saints defense during his time there was always actually pretty good. And there's some good talent on this team here that I think he can work with, even if they have a pretty offensive heavy class
yeah.
this time. I think he can work with and do pretty well and improve this defense just statistically, just with his overall knowledge and his presence, just focusing on that Bears defense. So I think the Bears can have a good draft, and I think they are going to be a team to look out for in 2025. Just with the talent that's coming on, expectations are going to be really high for Ben Johnson and them. It is going to be a learning curve because he's going to have a whole new language and it might take some time. But I could see the second half of the season, like this team being uh, taking some serious strides forward.
Yeah. No, and I like this team has a lot of talent, like you said, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And so I think you look at what they were doing at the end of 2023. I think that could be a much more repeatable
Yeah.
defense throughout the rest of throughout the 2025 season. So let's go
Yep.
ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Bears 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do? What would you have done differently? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.